Good evening, dear friends. Good evening, fellow citizens. My name is Binwell Mpundu. I know that this news has already reached you, namely that today I have been suspended once again from Parliament for a maximum of 44 days. Now, I have received 2 suspensions today. The first one, I have been given 14 days. The next one, I have been given 30 days. Now, in the wisdom of the Speaker, these 2, suspensions are going to run concurrently, okay? It means, therefore, that I will be out of Parliament for the next 30 days. Now, the 2 suspensions relates to 2 previous incidences that happened a few months ago. Number 1, I've been suspended for 14 days because I told one member of Parliament who misconducted himself in Parliament, I told him to sit down using a very common, simple Bemba phrase which says, "Yateke panshi." I think that for many of you who are familiar with the Bemba language, when somebody says "Yateke panshi," it is not an insult, but simply being told to relax and sit down. Unfortunately, many of you think this is an insult. Parliament feels this is unpalatable language and have been reprimanded or disciplined for that by way of a 14-day suspension. Interestingly, the Mongo MP is one of those MPs who is always insulting us on the right side. But do we care? No, we don't. The second suspension relates to a statement I made in reference or in reacting to the last suspension I was handed by Parliament, in which I said Parliament is beginning to look like it's not useful to some of us, because if you are going to be chased or suspended for simply looking at your counterpart or your friend, as the case was in my last suspension. In my last suspension, I was simply suspended because I turned my face to look at Honorable Katuta, who was signaling to speak to me whilst the Speaker was speaking to me. So the Speaker was speaking to me, telling me that I must not debate while he's seated. And in the process, Honorable Katuta was trying to whisper something to me. The moment I turned on my right to look at Honorable Katuta, the Speaker decided to hand me a suspension of 7 days because apparently she thought that I was being disrespectful for not looking at her while she was talking to me. So in my reacting to this suspension, I was basically saying, look, if we're going to be easily sent out of Parliament like that, Parliament is no longer useful and it's becoming more like useless. Now, in the wisdom of the Speaker, this is a very insulting statement to Parliament, and she has decided to send me out for 30 days. What is my role? My role will continue to be a voice for the voiceless, a voice for the citizens of this country. It means whether I am in Parliament or I am out of Parliament, I'm going to continue asking the hard questions about the decisions of government and the indecisions of government. My other role will include making proposals to government of what I believe they must do to change, the course of our country. As an example, I have taken so many proposals today to Parliament in way of motions to suggest to government what I think they must do. As an example, I was appealing to government through a motion that they must monetize social media to give young people an opportunity to make money, owing to the fact that these young people have not been given, opportunities to survive. I took a motion to urge government to set up a film fund, realizing the potential of the film industry so that this fund can enable this important sector to thrive. I also took a motion to Parliament just last week to urge government to start managing some strategic minerals, namely gold, sugilite, and emerald, in the quest for us as a government or as a country to derive more benefit from our minerals. I have also continued to ask this government hard questions as to why they continue to borrow when we have enough resources that can enable us raise revenues to take care of all these social, needs. Today, interestingly, government has come back to borrow more money after just last week we were debating or approving the borrowing plan. Interestingly, for those of you who are not aware, the UPND in the year 2026 are going to borrow $5.3 billion in just 1 year. Today, the Minister of Agriculture is back to again announce that government is going to borrow a further 5 billion kwacha from commercial banks. Now, this is contrary to the promise of the UPND, who promised prior to the 2021 election that they were not going to borrow like PF. But if you can compare, PF borrowed in 10 years $12 billion. The UPND are borrowing almost $6 billion in just one fiscal year. And all these years, consistently, they've been borrowing 1.5 billion every year. I can tell you, by the time the UPND will be leaving, they would have borrowed 10 times more than what PF borrowed in 10 years they were in power. And these are the most important questions that I've been asking. And it looks like our friends, particularly the speakers, are very quick to send us out, possibly to shut us down. Am I moved? No, I am not moved. In fact, I thank the speaker for being generous to give me more time to continue engaging with our people in the communities, as opposed to me going to sit in parliament and be ridiculed by our friends who usually go scot-free, no matter how much provocative they can be towards us. So I just thought that I must clarify, or at least clear the air as to why I have been suspended. I was not in parliament today, so I did not commit any wrong today. The suspension today is in relation to those two instances where I referred, or I told the Mongo MP to sit down, and the other instance where I complained about how I was treated by parliament. And that is why months down the line, they've decided to give me a break from parliament. And I am very grateful for this opportunity, because I'm now going to use it to come down to listen to you and interact with you over the challenges that you are going through. May God bless this country, and I want to assure you that all this will not move me. They will not intimidate me. I will continue to be your voice, whether I'll be in parliament or I'll be outside parliament. God bless you, and may God bless our country, Zambia.